Okay, let's do a quick recap. Hello everyone. Thank you for being here tonight and also making up this far. It shows a lot of dedication. And this week is going to be the final week dealing with Rust, and which is you're going to have enough Rust to jump into the next session, which will be building on Stellar Network using Soroban. And last week we learned about collection and data organization. We learned about vectors, hash maps, strings, and files. So it was a lot of stuff, and I believe it's a lot of stuff to digest in one sitting. And I don't expect you to learn everything just by watching a video. The real learning happens when you start practicing. You go through the code, you do different examples, and you struggle. You go through a lot of errors. That's when the real learning happens. And that's also why I give some homework and some exercises for you to go through. So last week we did hash maps. I don't know if if you're struggling with it. Any question? Any concern about hash maps? This is a safe space. Feel free to ask. And we also did working with strings. This was pretty much, I think it was straightforward. And file saving and loading, which is also can look a little bit difficult or intimidating, but it's also pretty much straightforward. And we also did a mini project, which I updated in this GitHub last week. So we created a program that stores books in a hash map where the key and the ISBN are the value of the book struct. So we did that. Today we're moving to the last chapter, which is going to be struct, method, and code organization. So you're going to also be using a lot of things that we've used so far. And by the end, we'll start building the foundation of an employee management system. And this will use a lot of things that we learned. Okay, last week we spoke a little bit about struct. Struct is like a box where you keep details about a certain thing. Like, for example, you can get, let's say a box is called employee. That employee has the ID, has the name, surname, email address, and maybe salary. So we basically bundling a lot of details under one variable. We can call it a variable or a struct or an object. It's also called an object in other programming language. So we're going to make a very simple example. Here it's struct car. Let me pull up something here. Let me. Okay, so let's look at this. So we created struct car. Sorry. Okay, for all those I hope all of you have installed VS Code, and you also installed the Rust compiler. Once you have VS Code installed, there's one thing important you have to add to your VS Code. Just go through the left-hand side, click extension, And then in extension, you search for Rust Analyzer.
Are you trying to show us your screen? Because we're just seeing the,
Can you see
the video.
Can you see the screen?
We can see your video meeting thing, not the desktop.
Oh, what's going on? Okay, let me see. Oh, thanks for the head up. I show entire screen. Okay, can you see my VS Code IDE?
Yeah, we can see the IDE.
Okay, so once you're in VS Code, go to left hand side extensions, and then search for Rust Analyzer. Let it load. Okay, so the first one here, make sure it's there's rustland.org. It was created by rustland.org, so this is the one that you install. And this one will help you with debugging and also to format your codes to look clean. So for example, let me just show you how to make something cleaner. So I'm creating a struct called car. Yes. Car. And let me say brand. The brand is a string. And speed is an unsigned integer. Okay, so basic stuff. Okay, so this code can look ugly. Let me just make it a little bit ugly. So if I save it, you can see it's structured properly. So it also helps you strategy code and make it look nice. So now we have a struct car, and we have these two details about car of this object. So there's a string, which is a brand, and then there's also the speed. So only two things. So how do we get a value? Here, let's create a main. And we enter values. So let's say let mute car 1 is equal to car. Then we enter different details like brand. Since brand is a string, we can say brand is BMW. And then we have speed. Let's say 120, 185. Okay, so now we're gonna print. So in order to print, so now we have a call, one that we have initiated. So it's kind of like a variable, like we've declared variable so many times, but instead of the variable to have one single value, now we can actually create an object that has different details. I don't know if it makes sense. So we have different details for that single car. So if we can call it, and when we call it this way. So let's say, what do I write here? Okay. The car's brand name is, and the speed is, okay, there's gonna be an error somewhere. I'm gonna ask you this question. So to call the brand name, you simply type car1 and brand. And then the speed will also be car1 dot brand. So this is going to call this and that. Something I wanted to mention. And also bear in mind that this is mutable, meaning that I could also change the value. I could change the speed, the car speed if I want, because it's mutable. And so what else? Let's see. Let me just put the screen. Yes, car window speed. So let me just put the screen this side. Car window speed. Yes, I made a mistake here. So let's see all the errors. Oh yes, there's a mistake. There's a error that's gonna come. I don't know if anybody knows what is the error. Okay, let me hide this. Can anybody guess what's the error here? Why is BMW giving me an error? Yes, correct. Correct. Because if you go over here, it tells you that it is a static string. It shows you that it's a static string. The debugger helps you. So you have to convert it to this type of string, which is simply dot to string underscore string. So this should remove the error. Let me check. Is there any other error here? So I didn't have to mute because I didn't mutate anything so far, but this is just a warning. Now we can view the terminal and run it. Let's just clear this. Then cargo run. And forget this is just a warning because we did not even need mute here because we did not even change anything. But here you can see it's printing out the car's brand name is BMW and the speed is 185. I hope it makes sense. How can you now understand how a struct works? Before you can proceed, thumbs up if you understand how it works, or if you don't understand the concept, you can raise your hand. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's move ahead. Okay. All right. So there's another thing that you have to understand. We're going to be using a lot, which is self. So self, okay, we're going to talk about implement later. So what self means is we use self inside of implementation or IMPL block. So self means that the things we're working on right now. And for example, you're going to see it in action when you're working for a specific object. We use the word self. But then there's different ways you use it. When you use it directly, it means the particular object that you're using. And if you use the end, upper end, and self, this means that you borrow. Borrowing is you're basically viewing the object. You're not making any changes. For example, here just an analogy, like you borrow the car to read it. You borrow the car to just read it. And then there's mute self, where you borrow mutably, meaning that you can change some values on a specific, I wouldn't say object, on a specific, how do you call it? Okay, you're going to see in
Property?
action.
Is it a property?
Yes. Thank you. Of a specific property. Here there's like an example here. You use implement, and then there's a function under implement, which is accelerate, and you have the mute self. So you mutate. Here you can mutate the speed of the specific object. And self takes ownership. And yeah, we'll see it in action. So if it doesn't make sense, we're going to see how it works. So this is the idea that you have to have in mind when we're going to start coding. Okay, struct. Structs are basically grouping related data together under one object. For example, it's like a box that holds related information together. For example, instead of keeping separate variables for a person's name, email, salary, we can put them together in one box called employee. So you don't have to have too many variable name, and we should just mess up your code and make your code more confusing to read. So you can just jumble up all the properties of a specific object. For example, an employee, and you have the ID number, you have the name, you have the email, salary, and the active. No, we're using Boolean and all that. So I already showed you one example so far. Let's see. Let's work with this one. Okay. So let me erase everything here. So another example of using structs for you to stack in your head. We have struct name called employee, and it has ID, which is the U32. We have a name, which is a string. We have a email, which is a string as well. We have a salary. Okay, of course, salary is F64, floating point. And last but not least, we have a Boolean, which can either be true or false. So if the employee is active, true or false. And let me just copy and paste this because to save time. But I'm going to explain the code line by line. Okay. So this happened automatically, so it doesn't have to be here. Oh my goodness. Okay, forget about this side, what I've just highlighted, because this, when you install Rust Analyzer, when you save your code, it appears automatically. I guess it's to make you understand the code better, I guess, to read it better. So here we have this object. So we created a struct called employee, and here we're adding the values. I hope you remember, because we've done this before, how to add a value on a specific object struct. So here it's employee 1, and we add this following information. We can even have another employee. Let's call it employee 2. Employee 2 equal. This is why is it happening? Okay. I don't know what's going on here. So employee 2 equal employee. And you see it happens automatically. So we have ID, we're gonna call it ID2, and name. We're gonna call the name. Here we converting to string. So here converting the name to a string. So let's call it James. And we have salary. Okay, you're going to notice there's like an underscore, like the 75,000. There's an underscore somewhere. So this is the same as this 75,000 is the same as 75,000. The only reason the underscore is there is just to make the code more cleaner, visually cleaner. So it's the same value. Then we have active, which we're going to make it false in this case. So this employee is not active. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. I hope this makes sense so far. So we've created an employee. So here is something's missing here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's ID, there's name, there's salary, there's active. ID, there's name. Email, yes. Thank you. Email, we just copy this. So the email is gonna be James. Okay, so we added the following values, and we're printing out. First, we're gonna print out the second value as well. So employee 1 name and employee 2. So employee 1 earns so and so, employee 2 earns such and such. Remember, you have to change here to employee 2 because we want to get the values from this. Correct? All right, so let me also print out something here just to give some space. And let's put a comma and save. Okay, moment of truth. Make sure there's no errors.
Print Alan.
Oh, yes. I forgot a comma. Thank you.
And also print Alan for the dashes.
Sorry?
Print Alan on the dashes. There's no Alan.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So let's print. All right, employee 1 at least earns this, and so this is expected. And of course, we're going to get warnings because we're not using any of this field. So you can use whatever field we can even call all these fields at once. It's up to us, but in this specific case, we just want to print out employee 1 or employee 2 earns such and such. So yeah, pretty much straightforward. So let's move on. So now you have, I guess now you have an understanding of struct. And yes, we also spoke about mutability. So far you can see that we initiated a struct here in an object called employee 1. This one is not mutable, so we cannot change anything, correct? But if you want to be able to make some changes, for example, you want to be able to change the salary, or you want to be able to change whether the employee is active or not, then you declare it with mute. So this just tells that you can change, you can make some changes. Does it make sense? So this just tells you that we can make changes. So let's make some changes here. So I'm gonna ask the class the question. So what do you think I have to do to change the employee salary? What code do I have to write?
Employee.salary equals.
Okay. Employee 1.salary equal. Give me a number.
85,000. You got to raise.
85,000. Okay, now let's see if
Oh, you gotta
there's
make it a
changes.
dot, don't you? It's dot, the point, the float.
Oh yes, thank you. Thank you. So now let's see if you're going to see some changes in employee one. Cargo.run. You can see employee one Alice earns 85,000, and this is because we added the mute before employee when we declared it. So I guess this makes sense. Does it make sense? Thumbs up if it makes sense. Okay, let's move on. So, okay, so here, so we updated the trust. So now we're going to speak about methods now. So far we know about struct. So struct hold data, but sometimes you want to attach behavior functions to them. That's where implementation comes in. So what does IMPL mean? IMPL stands for implementation. It's like saying, here are the things that this struct can do. So imagine employee is a game character. The struct holds the stats, like for example, the name, the salary, active or not active. These are the stats. And then the implementation block will just add the moves or skills. Well, maybe you want to display information about employee, you want to calculate bonus, you want to give a raise. So this implementation block will bundle up all the different functions in one sitting, and you're going to see how it works. So here, let's quickly do something here. Let's erase everything, and let me show you. No, let me not erase everything. Let's keep. So you have the main, and here we're just gonna remove the boolean. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Just gonna have salary. Let's remove the email. Okay, so I have the ID, I have the name, and I have the salary. So I want to show you how to use the implementation. So how to implement. So here under implementation, that's where we're going to put all the different functions and all the actions that will take place in this program when it comes to employee itself. So now, since we're trying to implement employee, then we have to specify that we're implementing the employee struct. And under that, we're just gonna create functions, just like we've learned so far. Like it can be function display, for example. We have another function called annual bonus. We have another function called give. Let's just call it function total. Okay, function total salary. So under implementation, we have this. We can create different functions, and this function will just have all the actions that we want to happen in this specific code using employee. So for example, display. In display, we just want to display all the information, all the details. Then we want to display the name and the salary. Like so and so earns so and so this specific salary. And because, like at the beginning of the class, I spoke about self. So now we want to read. We're not taking the object itself, but we have to show the code that we're working on this specific car or the specific employee, and we're just viewing it, we're not changing it. So in order to do that, you have to specify that here I'm dealing with self, and we just want to print out so and so earns this specific amount. So we simply do this. We print out so and so earns this specific amount, and here we're just going to call self name and self salary. And the reason it's like this is because we're dealing with functions, so we're going to reuse it over and over again. So self can be anything that we've declared, like we showed previously. When we declare employee 1 or employee 2 or employee 3, then whatever employee we declared, then self will just calling it and working with it. I don't know if it makes sense. And so now we're working with self, the specific self. So now let's create a variable. So let employee 1 equal, and we employee, and we're gonna have this following details. So employee ID will be 1, and name will be James. It's a toString. And then salary will be 89,000. So we have all the following: employee, ID 1, James, and salary. So now we want to display. Can anybody guess? This is just a guess. Can anybody guess what should I type here to print out, to display? I want to call this function here. So what do I do to display everything? This is just a guess. Can anybody guess?
Employee.display?
Yes. We employee display with a little twist. So it's gonna be this employee 1, since we didn't employee 1 display. So it's not gonna be display with no bracket. It's gonna be display with open and close bracket. And let's see, moment of truth. Oh yes, I forgot 0 here. Wait, I put here. Okay, I forgot something here. Why am I forgetting bracket? Python. You know, when you used to code in Python, you make mistake like me. So James earns 89,000. So we basically just call this function in a very, it's basically what we learned, by just a little bit of a different twist. We're burning up different functions under the implementation block. So we can also calculate the annual bonus. We can, let me check the time. Oh, the time is going so fast. We can also have a function that creates salary. So let me just, in order to save time, let's just do this. Okay. So now we also have annual bonus, which we don't have active, so we don't need to do that. Okay, let's just add another active here. So active. Okay, so and here we also have to. So I made some changes in this code. So active, let's say true. Okay. So the annual bonus just basically if self active, meaning that if self is true and not false, if it's true, then do that. So it's just going to take the salary that we're working with, so with the current employee that we're dealing with, times 0.10, or else it's 0. So this is pretty much forward, and we can also, so here this is not printing anything. Remember the first function prints out something, but the second function is not printing out. So we have to print manually. So we're printing out employee. We bring out the employee bonus. So the bonus is and then we're going to take employee 1, and then I'm gonna ask you a question. Employee 1, and then dot annual bonus. So what do you think I have to put inside the bracket? So this is the function. What do you think? Is there anything I have to put inside the function here? Yes or no?
Self?
I mean here, in the printing, is there anything I have to put here? The answer is no. There's nothing I have to print here because I didn't. There's only one parameter. So if there's only one parameter, like a self, a one parameter with self, then this is going to be empty. But in the case where you're going to take two parameters, like for example, you have a, let's say, num f64, then you have here now you have two different parameters, but the code itself will take it as you have one parameter. So you have to put something here. I don't know if it makes sense. So if it's self, if there's only self, it means that there's no parameter. But it's going to return whatever it has to return based on what you specify. So here, since we only have self, then there's no parameter. So this is just going to call employee. So we calling employee, and then the annual bonus. So what annual bonus does is just takes the salary, the self salary, which is employee 1 salary. In this case, it's 89,000, and then it multiplies it by 0.1. And here we're printing it manually. So let me save and let's print it out. So you can see the bonus, as expected, the bonus is 88.9 thousand. But if now this is false, okay, let's look at the code. Here it's written that if true, if self-active, true, do that, else do that. So what's going to show up if I print out, but here I made a change, active is false. What's going to be printed out here? It's a very simple question. Can anybody just, yes, thank you, Mohammed. So it's going to be 0. So let's save and let's, so this is 0, bonus is 0 as expected. So let's keep it to true. And let's see what we're doing next. Okay, now we have another visitor salary. So this is a question for a class. We also want a function that will calculate the total salary, which will be the employee salary plus the annual bonus. Can someone now tell me that what to do here? We don't want to print out. We want to do the same way we did here. We don't want to print out anything like here. So what do I write here? What's the first step? Calculate salary. What's the first step? What do I write in this line? What change am I going to make in this specific line? There are actually two things I have to do in this line. First thing, because we are calculating a number, so that the output has to be a floating point. So you understand that we are returning a floating point. Does it make sense? We are returning a floating point. The same as what happened is the calculation of the annual bonus. We had to return a floating point. So one thing that we have to take here is a floating point. And the second thing is we have to specify what are we working with at the moment, which is self. We're working with self. We are borrowing it, we're viewing it. So first thing we know is we returning a floating point. And the second thing is we know we have to self. Okay. So we've done the first step, the very first step. Another second step is just gonna be simply a calculation, right? Because we taking the salary and we are taking the bonus. I want someone to tell me, what do I put here? What do I write? What do I type out here? You can write it on the chat, or you can just shout it out. Anybody? Total salary equal self salary plus annual bonus. So basically what we're gonna do here, yes, you're on the right track. So we are returning values. So whatever we're gonna write here is going to be returned. So because we are returning a value. So if I put 5 here, if I put 6 here, and then I call total salary, it's going to return 8. It's not going to be printed out. If I want to print out, I just have to call it. And I have to print out manually like we did here. So here what's going to happen is you're on the right track. We're taking self salary. Self salary. Okay, now we have the salary plus. Now we're going to call the same function that we used, correct? And we're going to do it this way. So it's going to be self dot annual bonus. Does it make sense? Thank you, Mohammed. So this is what we're returning. And then here we're gonna go down here and just print it out. So we have display. So let me just copy paste this, copy, paste. So we want to see the total salary. So total salary, let me remove all this. So the total salary of James is, okay, so here we have, of course, I want to display the name. What do I put here? I want someone other than Mohammed and Rudolph to answer. I want to print out the name here. I want to display the name first before the total salary. So what do I put here? Somebody other than Mohammed and Rudolph. Anybody?
I guess you could just do employee.name.
Yes, correct.
Employee1.name, sorry.
Yes, employee1.name. Okay, and the second one is we're going to now the employee what do you call it? Total salary. So employee one dot total salary. Remember, this is a function. So we're putting those brackets because here we're using a function, total salary function. Whereas when there's no bracket, this is just a property. So there's no bracket because here we're calling a property. Here we calling the function. Does it make sense? So we're gonna save it, and then we going to run. Okay, total salary of James is 97.9. So we have the correct value. So far, let me pause a little bit. Is there any questions so far? Any questions? Nobody? Okay, let's move on to another part of this. So where were we? So we're doing part 2. Employee. So this is similar codes that you can go through, very similar. So again, let's talk about self. Self, you borrows the struct. You're borrowing the object itself. You just look at the data. We don't change anything. Mute self, we borrow mutably. We can change the struct. And self, with nothing, take ownership, and then implement is how we teach our struct new behaviors, like we did here. So there's 3 different behaviors under employee. There's display, annual bonus, and then here there's give raise. Okay, part 2, we're going to learn how to organize code with modules. I think this is going to be the last part of the session, part 3. And modules, as you grow product, we don't want one giant file. So module helps us to group related code together. So these modules helps us to have a much more cleaner code. It helps us to read code. And even if you want to make changes, it's easy for you to go through your code and make changes. Or if you implemented bad logic, you can just go back and fix the specific issue. So here it shows you how you use it. So that's like you take the mod. So let's actually turn this code, the code that we've done already, and then use mod. So like you say, mod just jumbles up all related code. So here we dealing with employee. We have struct employee, and then we have implementation of employee. So we're just gonna put it all together under one module to make the clean much more code cleaner, and it also makes it easy to call it. It just makes your job much more easier. So what you do here is okay, so mod. So when you modelize it, then you have to call it a name. So in this case, we're gonna call it employee management. And gonna close it with a bracket here. So remember, we it's only used for related code. So let's say you have an employee object, you have a car object, you have a building struct or object. I use struct and object interchangeably. So let's say you have all that. You're not going to use all the different objects and implementation of those objects under one module. You use only related object under one module. I hope it makes sense. So in this case, we only have employee. So employee will be under that employee management module. So let's save it. And we're going to see in action. So you can see already that I have an error message right here. I cannot call employee directly like before. I can even run this code. You see, it's going to give me errors. Let's run the code. And it says that not found in the scope. It's not accessible. The struct employee is not accessible. So there's two things that we see here. First, let's clear all these errors. So we're going to, let's run. So we see that the employee itself, we cannot call it, it's not in the scope. And the struct employee cannot be found, is not accessible. So this is the thing about, one thing about Rust, when you put a code under a module, you have to specify whether the struct or a function or even properties are either by default it is private, but then you can make it public. But since this is private, I cannot access anything. So the first thing that we do here is, since we cannot access the employee, then let's make the employee public. And it's simple as pub struct. So now we have made our employee struct public. So let's see if we're gonna get any more errors. So still, we're getting another error. Employee is not found in the scope. And this is because of the way we called it on the main code here. So let's see. Okay, here, the way we call it here. So there is a way that you have to call when you're dealing with module. So the first thing that you do here is you have to specify that you're using that specific module. And this is done simply by using this. So use employee management. Use employee management. And then we're going to be using employee. So simple as that. So now we still have errors. Let's see what the error message is telling us. So let's see what's going on here. So now we've made it public. We made the struct public, so meaning it's accessible. We've called it the correct manner. But why are we still having this error message? So let's run. You see again what it's showing us. The display is a private method. It's showing that the display is a private method. This is also a private method. The name is a private field. So the fields are just the properties that we added on the struct. And private. So what we do? So I'm asking you guys, like, I'm getting this error message. It's telling me that the total salary is a private method. So total salary is private. So basically all the functions are private. And it's also telling me that the field employee name is private. And yeah, so how do I fix this problem? Can somebody guess? Can somebody guess what we can do to solve? Yes. So now we're gonna have to make everything public. Thank you. So we have pub, we have pub, we have pub, we have pub, 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 public. Okay. So let's hope there's no errors this time. So let's clear and then run. All right. So it works exactly as it was working beforehand. Before we even added the module, we put it on the module. So it works exactly the same way. But it's just a few differences. You have to specify that you're using a module by use employee management and then employee, and that's exactly how you do it. It might not make sense now. It might be confusing right now. The only way for you to really get this is by working through it and changing the code, seeing where you can get an error, like just making stupid mistakes. Maybe like, for example, if I remove pub, what happens if I remove pub? What happens if I do that? What happens if I do this? So that's how you're going to learn it. So right now I'm just a guider. I'm just a guider. The real learning happens when you go through the code, you get your hands dirty. So I'm gonna end here. Let's just look quickly on what we're gonna do tomorrow to finish up. Because you're almost done. So let me. So today, this is what we did. We just come from doing adding behaviors. Okay, tomorrow we're gonna work on safer struct patterns, and then we're gonna build something together. Is this something that I left out? Let me see. Okay, yeah, I'm also going. I have to. Yeah, I showed you like. We didn't use a function with mute, so I'm not sure you that tomorrow. And yeah, that's it for tonight. Does anybody has any question? Yes, Mohammed.
I didn't get what the benefit of the mod.
Sorry?
Ben, because I didn't get the benefit of using mod.
Mod. Oh, yes. So mod is just there to make your code much more cleaner. When you have thousands of code, like if you're working with small code like this one, like the one that we've created, we don't really have to use it because this is such a small code. We don't need that. But sometimes you can have files with thousands of lines, like thousand upon thousand of lines. Now for you now to put it together and to deal with bugs, to deal with issues, maybe the logic, maybe a specific part of the code has bad logic and then you want to fix it, it's just much more easier when you put related codes together. I don't know if it makes sense, but for now, there's no benefit right now because this is just a small code. Okay. Any other question? Okay, I guess. Yep. That's it for tonight. Tomorrow we're just finishing up everything, and I'm gonna give you a project, and that's it. And then we get into Rust. We're getting into Stella, what we've all been waiting for. So it's good night. Thanks again for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Tomorrow, same time.